So welcome to the Forged in Chef podcast. Today we've got Lauren, who's here to talk to us a little bit about your research. So can you introduce yourself and your role in the university and a little bit about you?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. So I am a lecturer in social research methods within the Sheffield Methods Institute and broader School of Education. And as part of that, I sort of have several hats really. So there's the teaching side of things, where I teach a lot around creative, participatory research methods, so how to do research and work with people. And then I also have the research that informs that, which tends to sort of explore experiences of health, illness, disability, in sort of everyday and significant ways, working with groups and communities that experience either chronic illness, disability, or experiences that sort of align with that area. I am also the co-director of the Participatory Research Network, which is a network that is all things to do with participatory research, so doing research together with communities and going beyond the university. And I'm also one of the student voice leads, so I've been working with you and some of the other students as well, and have historically done projects around sort of making universities more inclusive, enjoyable spaces to be in. So so I think all of my different hats sort of all come under the same sort of umbrella of working with communities, particularly those who have chronic illness or disability, or identify in particular ways, and doing so in inclusive, collaborative and participatory ways, and working together. So all my different strands, whether that's teaching or research or the kind of activities within the university, they're all kind of grounded and brought together by that kind of central agenda.
Yeah. Well, you do a lot. I didn't realise you did so much. You got loads.
Yeah, I'm juggling.
Yeah. And you're also line managing the transitions projects with the student as partners. So the other project to the one that this is.
Yes.
And we did an episode with transitions, and you're also line managing.
And I'm also part of a project, a funded project, research project, called so it's funded by the Wellcome Trust, which is an external funder. So you might be familiar with like the Wellcome Collection in London, and they do a lot around like medical healthcare research. But so we have a funded project called the Wellcome Anti-Ableist Research Culture Project. We abbreviate it to WALK. And basically that project is a group of academics and researchers and professional services coming together to think about how to make the university a more inclusive space, and starting with disability as sort of like the driving force for thinking about things, rather than thinking about access as a kind of afterthought in the institution. So how do we have disability and disabled people's voices driving what should happen, rather than it being something that's thought about afterwards. So as part of that project, I'm responsible for a package of work around inclusive research methods and accessible events, working in partnership with a disabled people's organisation. So and I see that as connected to the sort of research and teaching and sort of work outside of the university in collaboration.
And you mentioned there anti-ableist, and this is like a term that's common in disability research. Can you just explain a little bit about what the concept of ableism and maybe disableism and
I'll have a go. I always struggle with this, but I'll have a go. So I think ableism is this idea that within society there's this like idealised version of who we should be, and often that's kind of an able-bodied, white, middle-class, performing person contributing to a capitalist society. And in reality, very few of us, if not any of us, actually meet that ideal, but because it's sort of set up as a kind of something that sort of overshadows us, that then creates this feeling that we are never achieving or meeting this kind of and that's in relation to disableism, which is the kind of direct discrimination of disabled people. So that means that the environment that they're in, well, if you're using the social model of disability, which is the environment is the problem, and there needs to be more, more efforts to make the environment and attitudes more accessible, and work with diverse bodies and minds, instead of sort of positioning people as sort of without or having this sort of deficit or struggle. It places the onus on, actually this is about society and what we need to change in society to reimagine things as not this kind of idealised performative thing, and actually think about the possibilities of what can happen when you see the world through disability and disabled people as a better way to be, as a better way to be and to imagine and to create more inclusive ways to be.
Does
that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think you described that really well. So it's like this kind of idea that there's a normal type of person, normal using air quotes, that and that anyone who doesn't fit this norm is therefore, there's a deficit thinking of therefore they're abnormal, or they have abnormal bodies or minds. And so we don't give them the access, or we kind of think about people maybe not in an inclusive way, because they don't fit into this sort of socially constructed norm that we have about how people should be. Is that okay.
So I think to give a kind of concrete example of that, when you're thinking about education, so how we teach and learn and assess isn't and shouldn't be a sort of uniform normative way of doing things. So because we all learn and come to understandings in different ways, and we all have different backgrounds and knowledges that create knowledge and understanding. In a classroom or a lecture theatre, people's bodies and minds might work in different ways that mean they can access that or not access that information in particular ways, and our reframing that to think about, actually, does this work in general, and what if we imagine this through sort of disability as the driving force of inquiry, how can that sort of create a more inclusive university or learning environment? So actually, if you think about pushing back against being assessed or measured in particular ways, that doesn't really align with inclusive ways of being and different ways of thinking, because it's against this kind of normative and idealized version that lots of us can't realize or even want to. So I think it's taking those ideas and thinking about, okay, what does this mean practically? So actually, in terms of teaching practice, that could be we have diversity of ways in which we assess, or diversity of content, because we make assumptions that particular type of content is accessible, but it's not accessible for everyone. I feel like I've gone on a huge tangent there, but
No,
I was
no.
trying to kind of solidify
Yeah.
what those conversations mean, like in practice
Yeah.
in the university.
It brings to mind things like the length of lectures as well.
Yeah.
So like if you've got even like a few in a day,
Yeah.
or you've got 2 lectures but they're 2 hours each, it's kind of like 4 hours. I remember at one point during my undergrad I had 2 lectures back to back that were 2 hours in
Yeah.
the same theatre, so expected to sit there with breaks in between, sure, but
Yeah.
like for 4 hours, which you know, even for someone who wouldn't consider themselves neurodiverse, that's a long time to sit and pay attention for anyone.
Yeah.
Let alone if you do have neurodiverse needs, or and I guess it's that thing of if you saw it through disability's eyes, or like saw it through that lens, and you changed that, it might benefit everyone.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's a long time to pay attention for anyone.
Yeah, and I think a lot of students have like learning support plans.
Yeah.
And a lot of like recommendations with learning support plans are actually just good practice. So like having information with plenty of time to read it, like lecture slides uploaded in advance, or the opportunity to ask questions and follow up with a lecturer or whoever's teaching that session, thinking about what the diverse ways in which people might want to contribute. And actually if you just incorporate that in terms of your general approach, that is the right thing to do in terms of accommodations, but also it makes for a better learning environment for everyone. And I guess it's just thinking through the ways in which we can make that happen. And that goes for teaching and research and all areas of practice really. I think it's just thinking through how to make things better for and sometimes that isn't always straightforward, and things can be in conflict with each other. But there are things that can push us forward in making things better.
Yeah. And so in terms of the research projects that you're on, what kind of impact are you hoping that project will have? I mean, there seems to be lots of different things going on within it. So what's the aims? Or
I mean, I think core to much of that project is really centering disabled people's experiences as researchers and as knowledge producers within and beyond the university. So we have, as a team, disabled researchers and project leads on the project, and I guess we bring a particular perspective and knowledge base in terms of how we do things and the things that in terms of our practice, but we're also working in collaboration with disabled people's organisations who have significant expertise and knowledge around research. And I think in terms of impact, I think the ultimate goal maybe with that project is just better environments within the university in terms of culture and just being a welcoming and inclusive space for everyone. And that can be researchers, educators, students, professional services, but it can also be beyond the university in terms of who feels welcome being in those academic spaces, which often can feel quite elitist. And I think I guess the other sort of broader desire in terms of impact and change would be really embedding and promoting and allowing disabled people's organisations to lead a lot of that stuff, because they are, like a lot of community organisations and advocacy groups, they're already doing it, and we've got so much to learn from them. So how we facilitate that and tell a story to broader university cultures about ways in which it can be done, and what we can learn from advocacy organisations and from disabled people's organisations who are out there delivering training or are organising, research projects and doing all of that stuff. So it's about us facilitating those conversations happening, and a tiny bit of disruption.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we can.
Yeah.
In the university. So
yeah. Tell us a bit more
Yeah.
about that. What do you mean by disruption?
I mean, I think a lot of the ways, and I guess this goes back to ableism, like
Yeah.
the university is an ableist institution. It presumes particular bodies and minds and people in it. And fundamentally, this project is saying and trying to imagine something different and to put mechanisms in place to ensure that that can not necessarily happen, because I think it's really hard to make that happen, but we can push in ways that make that easier to happen, or make small incremental changes that make it more possible. So how to smoothen out, you know, people's experiences of reasonable adjustments, or some of the kind of policies and processes that make someone feel supported. And not putting the onus on individuals, and instead being like, actually the institution, and that can be a university, but it can also be anywhere else. Like, what can we do with our knowledge and expertise in critical disability studies and in partnership with disabled people's organisations, like, how can we push and change and bend particular processes that allow for disabled people and disability to just be well and truly embedded and celebrated as just part of university life, and just present.
So it challenges those assumptions that an institution like the university makes about its students and its staff and the community that you know that the university is. It's challenging what is considered the norm and the way that they have these processes in place, and also it makes sense, doesn't it, that if you want to understand something, then you ask the people who it affects. That seems to be like a fairly new idea, it seems, or like you say, disruptive, to actually just ask people who have the experience.
I think, again, going back to the idea of ableism and like the sort of normative assumptions, like we all have them, and some of us are more aware of them and critique them, or are at different points in our journeys with like critiquing and understanding. But I still think there's so much work to do in, like, when even just asking the question, when we say a disabled person in the university, who do we imagine? Like, what or who is that? Like, so I think if we talk about inclusive education, are we talking about a disabled lecturer, for example, or is it always about students being in need of support, rather than kind of like, we imagine leaders and educators as also experiencing that too, and how does that as a relationship? So so as an example, but it kind of keeps sticking with me, so as someone who has a chronic illness and who had like a flare up during the height of semester, I sat down during a lecture and I thought, how will this be read and how will it be perceived? But actually, like, in terms of like thinking through power balances and creating a collaborative space with students, is it not better to actually sit down and be like, do you know what, we're together in this, rather than me being like, I'm the lecturer, I know everything, like that's just not true, and I'm bringing in my own body and mind and tiredness and all of that with it, and actually there's so much like internalized like ableism as the sort of leaders or the educators or the lecturers, that what does it mean to disrupt that, and
Yeah.
how does that change the educational experience? And is that helpful to students to go, oh, actually, they know exactly what I'm experiencing too, and
Yeah.
if we had conversations about it together, could that make for a more inclusive and better experience for everyone?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's just a kind of broader commitment to a sort of more personable and human, like, way to do,
Yeah.
like, teaching and learning
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And seeing people as just like,
Yeah.
humans navigating these
yeah.
things.
Yeah. It reminds me of when we were sort of trying to develop ideas for the podcast, and one of the things that came up was, how do we humanize lecturers?
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of one of the like aims of this podcast, to kind of like bring out those. I think that is what a student cohort would like, and it would be nice,
Yeah.
especially when universities run so much like a business now,
Yeah.
that actually by connecting with the people who are teaching you, connecting with their research and connecting a bit more about who they are as people, can only be a good thing. Yeah.
How do you think you could like make that happen? Like, what would you
With-
like from lecturers and educators, like, to
Interesting question.
humanize them?
To humanise them. I think what you've said is a great example of just someone being really honest about sitting down because they're feeling tired. Or I had a lecturer who has she's deaf in one ear, and like explained that very clearly at the beginning, and asked us to kind of give her a shout, or that if she misses us, it's just because of that, and like
Yeah.
she'll try and lip read, so can we like try to
Yeah.
really show her our faces when we're talking, things like that. And that's not to say that you need to sort of put on display your
Yeah.
the personal, you know, things that might be quite personal to
Yeah.
you, but I think that there is a real value in approaching students with I'm not sure if the word I'm looking for isn't respect, but this idea of like trust,
Yeah.
that someone's trusting you to respect them and to support them to teach you, and you can
Yeah.
offer that. And I think there's a
Yeah.
really reciprocal something in there that's really reciprocal and builds that trust and that kind of meaningful relationship between lecturers almost.
Yeah.
But again, not to say that everyone has to sort of walk into the lecture room and say,
Yeah.
I've had a terrible day and an argument with my children, and they have to kind of like put everything on display. But
Yeah.
maybe even just it's raining and I do not feel good, or I've got an injury and my leg hurts, so I'm going to sit down, or I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever it is.
It's tricky though, because like, I've had meetings with students where
Yeah.
they've said, and how are you? And I'm like, oh gosh, how do I
Yeah.
answer that question?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's the honest answer? And
Yeah.
what's the like, I'm here to support you
Yeah,
answer?
yeah. Like, how do you walk the line? Yeah. But there's value in, I guess there's value in whatever you say, as long as it has
Yeah.
authenticity.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's, and I was wondering as well, as a lecturer, when you feel able to show up and trust your students and let them know that you're going to sit down for this reason, or not at all, or you're just going to tell them you're going to sit down. If there's also, it helps you to be authentic at work, because potentially there's an idea that people, like lecturers, that do have disabilities, whether they're visible or not, they can't be their authentic selves at work.
Yeah.
And I think also that must be like weigh on people, and that might be quite difficult for well-being if you feel like you can't show up as you are, that you have to hide something.
Yeah, and it's really tricky, because I think that's like intersectional as well, you know. If you then, you know, think about, you know, disability in relation to race, class, gender, age, all of those things, that's not experienced equally. And we are also, because we're in this, you know, ableist society and a neoliberal society, we're also measured against, you know, ideas of performance and achievement and success. So there's always the kind of worry of, you know, people being satisfied and you delivering excellence and all of that stuff, and that doesn't always line up with different ways of being
and just the general human experience.
Yeah.
And neoliberalism, do you mind just giving us a bit of a...
How do I define neoliberalism?
I've heard neoliberalism a lot this year in my course.
How do I define it? This is where I'm like, oh gosh, I'm a sociologist and I don't know how to simply explain neoliberalism. I think it's this idea of a sort of productive capitalist society. So we are, as individuals, in terms of, you know, what we do, you know, we're designed to be productive, contributing to an economy, and it's sort of based on like meritocratic, I feel like I'm just adding more words, but like we are individuals that are getting by doing things on our own with hard work and contributing to this capitalist economy that is, you know, about money and progression and on all of those things, and less about community and alternative ways of being and supporting each other. I guess it's kind of like this idea that like people like should individually have this like maximum productivity, and if you don't or you can't, then you have no value. It's almost like this like categorization of either you're contributing or you have no value, and that doesn't obviously account for the sort of multifaceted human experience, and where we assign value tends to be in terms of like economic contribution and success to our capitalist society rather than so I think in like translating that into like a university setting, I think it, you know, a neoliberal lens would be around like financial gains, employability, like productivity, outputs, whereas an alternative like imagination of that and a push back against it would be around community and process and working together and
collaboration and
so I think in terms of it's how you like in terms of like relationships between like students and lecturers, actually what happens if you say let's just learn together and like just wonder about things and worry less about the kind of end product or achievement, what does that do, and are we even comfortable with that as an idea?
I can see what you mean by disruptive, in the sense of like it challenges the sort of the ideas that we have about what university's for, and that you get a grade at the end of it. And I guess imagine if there was no grades, it was just like a pass or a fail, and it was based on how great your ideas were or like how much you explored reading rather than sort of examination.
But also, what does failure even mean?
Interesting you say that. It's going to come later.
But like what does it mean to fail, and how do we, what are our perceptions of that?
So just in terms of what brought you to this area of research, can you tell us a bit about like kind of what inspired you, or like what brought you to disability research?
So I think there's two answers to this. One is personal experience in having health conditions since being a child and sort of grappling with that, and being kind of, I guess, lots of academics and lots of researchers come into their areas through personal experience, and a kind of curiosity to understand and make sense of that. But then some of it is also sort of like accidental in terms of the projects. Maybe not accidental, but things have just sort of happened. That makes it sound like it's just
happy accidents.
I've just kind of gone where things have felt right in that moment, or where opportunities have presented, or where relationships and collaborations have felt positive. So yeah, so as a background to, I mean, I don't know how much more information you want, but
just whatever you're comfortable giving. You really don't have to give anything that you don't want to share.
No. It's so I did a sociology degree. And I actually that was an accident.
Oh, okay.
So I had all intentions to be a nurse.
Oh.
And that was always what I wanted to do.
I could see you as a nurse.
Everyone
I could
says
see that. Yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, always wanted to be a nurse, and I got a place to study children's nursing at the University of Manchester. But during my GCSEs and A levels, that was when I was kind of most poorly and in hospital a lot, and I sort of left education and had to come back. And at that moment in time, I wasn't quite well enough to do the physical bits of nursing.
Yeah.
So I was like, what on earth am I going to do? And I did really well in sociology. And I was like, I'm just going to ring up the University of Sheffield and see if they have me. And I was like, oh, I like sociology, so maybe I'll do that. And they let me in through clearing. And here I am.
Yeah. Wow. Short, long story short.
So I then kind of just really loved sociology, really loved like thinking about society, and particular in terms of like experiences of health and illness and disability. And I think I've always just been kind of really curious and into sort of the academic side of things.
Yeah.
And then went on to a master's in social research, and then a PhD.
Were they all at Sheffield, all of those?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Through and through.
Yeah. And that, again, sort of, some of that was deliberate, and some of that was just kind of how it's panned out. So when I was an undergraduate, I stayed at home with my parents in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really well enough and didn't really have the confidence or the capacity to live university life in the kind of normative way that often it is. So I stayed home and commuted in, and then got a winding participation scholarship to do the masters, and then the Economic and Social Research Council funding to do a PhD.
Amazing.
So without those, I wouldn't have been able to do them. And yeah, I had a lot of institutional and kind of personal support from, particular members of staff to enable me to do that. And sort of since my PhD, I've sort of developed networks and connections with people who are in sort of areas of health and disability research, and that's led to like various projects that I've been involved in and people that I've worked with. And yeah, I think just I really love doing this kind of research, and I loved teaching, and there's a lot of joys to be had from being in a university despite its challenges. But so that's the kind of journey into this research. Some of it has sort of taken in particular directions. So one of the projects that I was involved in, which was a total joy, and I loved every minute, I was working with a group of young people at a special educational needs school, and we had a great time. We had so much fun, and I'd never worked in sort of research with young people at that point in an SAN context. But yeah, it was a joy, and I learned so much from those young people, and I'm constantly trying to find ways to keep going with projects with the schools that I worked with and with the teachers that I worked with. And yeah, various things have happened since that project. So yeah, I'm always kind of trying to find ways to do those partnerships and to do that research in, you know, special education schools. And that's kind of an unexpected area that I didn't sort of initially imagine myself being in, but is an area that I really love working in.
Awesome. Thank you for talking about your research. It's really great to hear like kind of different projects and the things that you've been doing and like your journey through them. And I was just wondering, it brings us on to our next segment, which is, where have you failed most successfully?
Oh gosh. I think there's like several moments within my life where things haven't quite gone to plan, and that's been really hard. And I think failure is hard. So one would be, I guess, the disruption to my kind of educational journey in having to leave A-levels, have a year out whilst undergoing, you know, treatments and stuff in terms of my own health, and then entering back into that space, and just and trying to do A-levels in that context is quite tricky. And I did really badly at biology. So I think I might have got like an E in my A-level biology. But yeah, I didn't. It was a lesson that I didn't actually really like science. And actually I really like social science and arts and humanities, and I was better at it. And it was a sort of like, okay, this is telling you something, that there's a particular direction for you here, and that's all right. So I think me being like, do you know what, I just can't do biology, was all right, and it put me in a particular direction. So I think that's a successful failure. And then I think the other area would be, so because I really loved studying and I wanted to go on to do Masters, PhD, and needed the funding and the sort of scholarships to enable me to do that, they're really hard to get. And I didn't get it first time round, so I applied for what they call a 1+3, which is the Masters and the PhD funded all in one, and I didn't get that, and that was really challenging to take, because I had like, this is what I want to do, and not getting that and having to think about, okay, what's the other alternative, and how do you move forward. And I was lucky in that there was another opportunity presented to me. But I think there's a broader question and broader reflection in that, and guess just like educational or academic achievements more generally, is around like, I think a lot of us, and I definitely am, I don't know if perfectionist is the right word, but I have a sort of like a sort of high expectation of like, I need to do this, or I should aim at this level. And actually, what does it mean if that doesn't happen? And who does that matter to? And yeah, I think I also reached a point in my life where I feel like there's a therapy session.
I got the sofa for it.
Like I'd done my PhD, I'd done my undergrad, then I'd done my master's, then my PhD, and then I got my first publication, and then I was like, oh, like, is this fulfillment? And I was like, I don't know. And actually, there's so much, and I guess that this links to this kind of like academic pressure and like particular ways of like measuring success and achievement and progression, is like, is it really what we want, and who is it for? And is this just part of this kind of like idealized version of what we should be doing? That's not to say I don't really enjoy all of those things, but I think it's about putting them into perspective of like, these aren't, you know, grades or achievements or classifications of whatever we do are not who we are. And they are just one part of our identity. And I think as a university and as educators and as a community, we have to allow that as a reality and as a conversation, so it can be like, yeah, you can do a degree because it's something that you're going to really enjoy doing, and you might get this grade or you might get that grade, but like, where are you in this, and like, what do you get from it in terms of like enjoyment and filling your cup up in terms of like what you enjoy and what like connects to your broader sense of self. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if that relates to failure, but I think it's about sitting with like when something doesn't work out or you don't get the kind of like thrill or sense of gratification that you expect. What is that telling you? And what is that kind of making you think about yourself and how you, where you put your energy and where you're going in life and all of those things, and education and stuff can be part of that, but it is just part of it. So I think it's embracing that failure as an opportunity to learn about where we're at and where we want to go and what matters. And also I think in terms of like practice, one of the things that I always make a conscious effort to do in terms of teaching but also supporting students, say if I'm supervising a dissertation or whatever, is say professors start with a blank document with like scribbles of ideas. Like there isn't this kind of like we know everything and everything just like comes out naturally. Like all of us start somewhere. All of us start with a blank document of like, I don't know what to do. Have I still got it in me to write this thing? And it's okay to share an idea. It's okay to share messy scribbles. Like that's what we all do, and that's what we all need to develop. And saying it's okay to share the kind of mess of ideas and creating safe environments to do that as a part of learning. But also reminding students that we don't know everything. And that's all right. And we learn together, and we learn through conversation. And and that's like, they are also sort of, they're maybe not direct failure, but it's about embracing the things that feel uncertain or not finalized or need sort of reimagining or some work. It's seeing that as a starting point to think through how to make things better for yourself. And I think also sometimes I remind myself of like as an undergraduate student, like I'd get certain grades and I'd be like, this is awful, like this is the worst thing ever. And now I look back and I'm like, oh gosh. But it was because of this kind of like high pressure to be like and then I ended up becoming an academic.
It all worked out in the end.
But I think just realizing that like it's fine, and it's just part, and like sometimes we do really good at things and sometimes we aren't very good at other things, and that's something we all experience. And that's one of the things that I really learned. So as part of the project where I worked with the special educational school, I worked with the Make a Futures team in the School of Education. And so I was a researcher and I worked in collaboration with the school and Make a Futures. And we had these makerspace workshops. And at the start of these workshops, they said, I'm trying to remember what the phrasing was, but it was this idea that, like, don't be afraid to ask for help, because we all need help with something. And sometimes we're all good at something, and sometimes we all struggle with something as well. And like centering that as like an okay thing to do right at the start, like it was just a really good and inclusive way to like have sort of struggle or failure as existing with like strength, and allowing people to help each other out with those things. So so like in a concrete sense, like I'm terrible at grammar, and like, so if I was ever writing something with someone, I'd be like, I need help with that. I can throw loads of ideas at a page, but don't ask me to proofread. But equally, there might be someone who's really good at that but needs help. And actually, if you see it as in relation and always like interdependent, then that makes it a good thing rather than positioning it as a sort of deficit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely, it does.
I
think I was listening to you really intently there, because me and Branwen, that's doing the cameras, we're doing our master's dissertations at the moment, and I recently had to change mine from like getting qualitative data and interviews to just doing desk-based. And I found like I haven't had to change the idea too much, but I was really enthused by the new idea and the new direction, whereas initially I was very stressed and frustrated that what I wanted to do just did not look like it was going to work, or potentially was going to take me really far into the summer, which would have been quite tight. And so kind of had to make a decision to change things, and kind of initially feeling frustrated, but then as soon as making the decision to change, feeling really like, I feel really relieved and really enthused, and just like this idea that we're trying to do these dissertations right now, and they're very big tasks, and I've been staring at a section of mine, not putting any words down, thinking, I must know something, and I have got like quite a few mind maps and things, but it's really reassuring to hear from someone who's had such an academic kind of career, that's okay, and that you're right that it needs to be about what we're learning and what we're gaining in this process. It can't be about, just a grade, because that's going to feel quite empty, even if you do well and you get what you wanted. If you haven't got any value out of it in terms of like the learning, or it hasn't felt true to you, or it's hurt you in some way because it's been very stressful, like mine was very much hurting me, what value do you get from that? So definitely something that I needed to hear. I was staring at you there just like, it really is a therapy session.
I think you raised some really important points there about research. Research goes wrong all the time, and like when you read like a journal article about a research project, it's like, I collected X amount of data and then did a thematic analysis, and I'm like, where's the mess?
So true.
Where's the struggles with recruitment and not knowing where to start with data analysis? Like, and actually,
where's your 7 coffees? Like,
and being honest about that. And I think being honest and being transparent makes a better research, because it shows you the nuances of it and the complexities of doing something like that. So I think it's really important to know that research projects change all the time, and they have to, and things go wrong, and things fail, and curveballs get thrown at you and you're like, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
But there's always space for learning and always space for reflection, and it's about creating a space where we see it as a space for learning and reflection rather than a kind of a negative, like, this hasn't worked out.
Or that something's been lost or something.
And I think in relation to the dissertation as well, one of the things that the question I always ask is, what are you going to enjoy doing? Because the dissertation is always the one piece of like independent work where it's actually really, it's a big piece of work and it's hard. And if you find something that you really care about, or you're really passionate about, or you're really going to enjoy like spending hours in the library reading about, you need to make sure that you're interested in it. Because if you're not, then how are you going to do it? And I think if you're enjoying it and you're interested, it'll make for a better project. Because you're more committed to it.
That's really good advice. I was going to ask you what your one piece of, I think we've done like quite a lot of good advice there.
But yeah, find the spaces that bring you enjoyment. And try and work with, you know, the parameters of what you're studying. Or the modules you're taking to find that. And also to, like, if you think about what brings you enjoyment, you know, that's probably tied to what you'd like to do in the future as well. So it makes sense to do that. So there's a practical element to it as well. But I would always say, like, centre the thing that drives you or that feels important, and that you're gonna enjoy doing, instead of like feeling really stressed and hating it. I mean, there's always a bit of like, this is hard.
It's always going to be a bit difficult.
But
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
No
I'll just
problem.
ask the last question for this episode,
Yeah.
which is, what are you gatekeeping in Sheffield?
Oh gosh.
I know we're about to do a whole nother episode on just Sheffield things, but if you can think of
Sheffield,
what's something you really like and don't want other people to know about?
I mean, I always want people to know about things because I'm like, this is amazing, therefore you should go.
Okay, say that one then.
So the one that sticks in my head is there's a really nice donut shop on Sharrowville Road.
I know the one. But carry on.
Eve's Donuts. It's just lovely. And like, as a weekend treat, just going and getting a really nice cream donut. And having a walk around the park or whatever. I would probably say there.
Is it Eve's Kitchen or Eve's Kitchen Donuts, something like that? Or Eve's Donuts? It's just Eve's Donuts.
Maybe Eve's Kitchen.
Maybe. We'll find out. We'll put it on the thing.
Eve's.
It's Donuts, it's Eve's. It's on Sharrowville Road.
I'm trying to think of another one.
Maybe save it, because we're about to do...
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for talking about your research and your journey and a bit of what you're doing at the university.
I hope that wasn't like too much.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Good.
So thank you for listening to the Forged in Chef podcast.